Hey, how's it going? I have some cards. And first I'm going to have you look at my signs, if you would, please. So, I've had these cards now for 2 days. I've been sitting on them. And, that is because I knew there was something there, but it was not clear, and I was just like waiting for it to resolve into something I could talk about. But it's always kind of the same thing. It's always about what's going on that I'm seeing in people, just in the world, and in whatever news or whatever I happen to be looking at, including the actual world outside, which, this is weird. The last 2 times I've gone out for my exercise rides, I have seen like no people. It's been really strange. And then the other strange thing is, it's today, Wednesday, and then I didn't go out yesterday, but on Monday also, as I have become used to saying now, all of the cars were home. You know what that means? That means the people that drive the cars are also home. And being that it was Monday and now Wednesday, I'm like, why? It's, as far as I know, it's not a holiday. I mean, they can be home all they want. It's just unusual. I don't know what's going on, is what I was about to say. And it's making me laugh because why should I? Why does no one has to report to me what they're doing and why with their day? But it just, my entire experience becomes part of whatever I'm going to say here. So I don't know. It just felt like worth commenting on. Well, thanks for underscoring my point. So I'm not sure I have come to any conclusion about anything, because nothing has felt clear about this, but I'll just read you the cards as I pulled them, or in the order I pulled them. So first I pulled from the Gemstone Whispers deck, the red version. And the cards I pulled were, and let me just preface before I show any cards here that I'm like looking for upbeat and happy. Like, that's what I'm seeking anyway. And so the cards I pulled, you judge for yourself. But anyway, the first one was do more to your right. Do more to your right. How would you pronounce it? And the subtitle is Wisdom. It goes on to say, the fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. Okay, I was gonna get there. Pin that quote. Okay, I'm just going to put this aside because I did not remember or realize that was going to have a connection, but that's the way the card readings go. So the next card was Petrified Wood, and the subtitle is Lost, and it reads, it's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. The thing about these cards, and probably part of what like slows me down from just going ahead and reading them, is that I pull them with the intention that they're not about my personal stuff, because I'll pull my own cards for my own personal stuff, and yet it seems like it seeps in anyway. Like, there's just, I can't not see connections that I'm not necessarily sharing with you to stuff in my personal life. But if you see me picking up cards and pausing and I'm not talking about it, that's probably why. It's because it's hitting home somehow, and I don't care to discuss it maybe, but I will, regarding this lost and the paragraph that came after. There again reads, "It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything." It's not a direct hit, but close enough, because it's going to pertain to other stuff too. And then the final one of those I pulled was Black Pearl, and the subtitle for that is Gluttony. Again, hitting home, although not really trying to refer to myself here, can't help but see parallels. The paragraph reads, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." It's not a tongue twister, but I felt like I had to think around some corners to catch up with it, so I'm going to read it again. "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." So that to me is talking about rich people. Like, nothing is ever enough, and also it's not enough to have your own stuff. You also have to have all of the other stuff too, regardless of everybody else's ownership or attachment to the other stuff that ain't really yours. You got to control what they're thinking and doing too, and that's you overstepped. That's too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next set of cards that I pulled. Note that I pulled 3 from the Gemstone Whispers deck. That became a running theme, because from the Lightseers deck, this beautiful thing, I pulled 3 cards as well. And the first one I pulled is the first card in the deck, A Tidy House. Clarity and organization. This is like always a 3 stages of card, different usually every time, but in this case, I think it is talking about kind of the state that I felt like I was in before I decided to just throw caution to the wind and just start here. Was that I knew that there was something that required clarification, and in any case that requires organization. Excuse me, I'm bilious. And I gotta yawn. Sorry about all those functions. Excuse me. So, it's funny, it says clarity and organization. I feel like you don't get the clarity until you get your thoughts organized, and since this is a metaphor, maybe thoughts is what we're talking about. But also like place of mind rather than peace of mind is what I'm getting, and it's plenty to like being in a sort of comfortable state of mind, but sort of not really knowing about or caring too much about exterior stuff, and so you become sort of out of step with the rest of the world. Like, time moves on, and I'm getting like just sort of a tinge of that, but really I think it's about sort of messy, unknown state of mind, and then just sort of like, okay, getting to a place where stuff makes sense and you can move forward and there's a clear path, or like missing the point, like overshooting the point and trying to like trying to look normal but be everything and do everything when normal is not really even like a thing that anyone's asking for in particular. Just clarity and organization. And I say that last bit because this was making me think of Elon Musk for some reason. he has all of the potential and all of the stuff to be, I mean, he is successful by our metric in the human world, but on some other levels, he's kind of like messed up and doesn't make sense, or I don't know, like that particular guy, you will hear things about him across the spectrum of judgment, I guess you could say. And on a far one end, I know of a particular personality that says he is a genius. He may not make sense to other people, but he's a genius. And then at the other end, you got people calling him a stupid idiot. So that leaves kind of a wide gulf in between. And I think all of that falls under the nothing is what it appears to be category, you know, because looking at the outside of a person is not seeing the person as they are truly. Certainly what we show to people is not always the 100% honest self. So I don't know, just I don't know, his name came up in context, and he has a lot to do with systems, mainly in the United States, but I don't think exclusively. I think he's got his fingers in many different pots, and possibly he gets like overstimulated, because I think he's on the spectrum. I hear he uses stimulants, which is not really good for anyone, spectrum or otherwise. And I also think that no one can tell him anything, so I think he probably goes through all of these stages with ideas and projects and things, and what we see probably looks like all of these various stages, and it doesn't look clear or organized, but somehow he gets things to work for him. They don't always stay working, which I don't know, you could kind of apply to just like life systems, like things, ideas, great, grand, big ideas don't last forever. They're not always a good idea forever. Stuff changes. I'm now thinking of Detroit and the water problems they had, because I'm sure when the water system was installed, before the Republican management people came along and like dismantled all the stuff that was basically regulation based and kept the water, you know, potable and good for consumption. You know, I don't know if you remember this, but it was just to the point that the water was so toxic they couldn't even put it on their skin, the people that were using it. Certainly couldn't consume it, so you couldn't cook with it, you didn't want to wash your clothes in it or yourself, and it's like, hi, water is life. You needed to live, is what I'm saying. So that story has gone out of the news, and I need to, I guess, catch myself up on it, because water is one of those things you cannot live without. And I don't know what those politicians were doing, that Republican management. Like, I'm not sure what their goal was, but I'm sure, because this is almost always the case, it's like almost never altruistic. Whatever they were doing that sounded good for people was probably, well, nothing turned out to be good. The last I heard, like, they were still living on bottled water, and geez, that's my bad for, I don't think I looked for a couple of years now. Well, I really need to look. How do you spell it? Okay, so I'm just saying, again, nothing is how it appears, because with that water situation, it was like, yeah, we're going to go in and we're going to do this and it's going to be great, and that's what it was supposed to look like. But then in practice, none of it was true. You know, like, they needed to distribute fresh water to the people. They didn't do that right. Outside had to come in and help. GoFundMe and things like that. Like, it's just, it's beyond not a good look to not be able to maintain the health and safety standards for human life in your state of the United Ones, where we're supposed to be this country that does all these big impressive things. And I don't know, like, we kind of lost the desire to do that anymore. Now it's all about acquisition and control and power, and it's like, there's more things, there are more components to life than those few things. And when that is only the focus, then things begin to suffer, like cutting corners. I think we all, I don't know, all is probably a bad idea, but many of us will be aware that if you're saying someone is cutting corners, they're not doing something good. Cutting corners is like cutting out steps, possibly vital steps to the survival of whatever it is you're talking about. Cutting corners, just never a good idea. But you can do it and it'll look like things are good, so you can be saying one thing and it'll look one way, but the reality is something else. Okay, I think I've said that point a couple of times. I guess I made it now. The next card I pulled was Eyes of the Eagle, number 18 card. It's making me laugh because it's like an eagle. It's not a magnifying glass, although it sort of looks like a monocle, which is in a way a magnifying glass for an eye. But eagles are supposed to have like the super best eyesight, so why do they need it? And I'm just laughing because coincidentally I found out that my lenses, my new prescription, I can go get them and they can go put them in these frames tomorrow, so yay. But I was having to, when I was reading reading cards, I could not see some detail on the card. I had to go grab my magnifying glass. Although I don't have eagle eyesight even with these things. In fact, I have mono eyesight, speaking of monocles, monoculars. Anyway. Oh. Sorry, just seeing some stuff here. I think it's interesting that this bird, this eagle, has what I think of as something very ancient that is in like Egyptian iconography, and it's like the wings of a god, and which god? Or actually, it's supposed to, in some of the art represents like a starship, because the language for translating how the ships were flying, all the primitive people had to work with, I guess, were wings that were on birds, and so that's what they look like. But that's just an edge of what's usually like a two-sided thing with like an Isis symbol in the middle, or a moon or something, you know, where a head would be, which, you know, that's going to be indicating some sort of symbolic thing, whatever's in between those two wings. But I'm not sure what it's supposed to mean in the context of this card. I'm just noticing that it's there, and also that this monocle thing, it has these shells that I am for some reason thinking of as currency, which I'm sure they were to primitive peoples that maybe would have used wings to indicate a flying machine. You know, there's not much to hold a monocle on an eagle's head, a bird's head. Like, there's no ears extruding outward. They're like inverted. So what is holding this thing up? There's some sort of what is holding that up? These seem to be dangling. That does not really look like a handle. There's some sort of something over here that I do not think is a part of a bird. It seems to be like some sort of metal something or other, but I couldn't tell you what it's doing. I mean, presumably the wing bit is part of this too. I'm just gonna guess that it's somehow, I don't know, maybe sitting on its head like a, you know, those like little microphone headsets. They're very minimal. It's got like a thin little like fiber optic tube of a microphone, and then it just has like a couple of metal bands and then like a little other bisecting band, and it just kind of clamps onto your head. Like, very simple thing. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Who made it for the bird? Why does the bird need hardware? I don't know. That's probably not the thing to be noticing on here, but the subtitle for this card, Eyes of the Eagle, the subtitle is Rising Above the Fray. It just got like a hit of pretentious, like rising above with my fancy jewelry and crap, and the type of artifact that someone might get in an underhanded fashion from the British Museum. They have a lot of stuff that's not theirs. That, I don't know why I'm thinking of that, because the eagles I don't think are in England. But rising above the fray, that would indicate that, like, I'm above that. So, I mean, bird gets above everything, can see further and wider with their improved over humans' eyesight, so they say, they being the scientists, the biologists, whatever you call them, people that make those kinds of comparisons between animals and men. But here, well, for one thing, I don't think eagles have blue eyes, so that's maybe going to play into what I was about to say, but we anthropomorphize a lot, and we made the eagle the national bird and conferred on it all these, like, qualities that are human, basically. Like, it's honorable, you know, it's unforgiving, like, it, you know, it makes a solid stand for what it believes in, and that's, you know what an eagle probably believes in? Getting something to eat and protecting its kids from predators and stuff like that. Again, with the anthropomorphizing, like, we're giving it concerns that in all likelihood does not have to approach in its life, except for when it crosses paths with us. Then we make things complicated, but we can also help. But that's a whole nother, don't go down that rabbit hole. So the last card I pulled of those is the number 8 card. And the subtitle, or the card is Crown Games. Crown, like top of your head, where a crown goes. Right use of power. Don't get all pretentious and over-jeweled and thinking you're too smart and knowing too much stuff. Because you have power. You are the head, what is that word I want? Head figure, head mark, figurehead. You are the figurehead atop some structure, power structure, like a royal family or a government or a business or a wealthy family, and you have power over people, and so you could go the way of thinking, I know better than everyone about everything, including them and their lives. But I don't personally believe in that, so I don't think I want for this figure to be anything other than that. Like, I basically want a good, right use of power type figurehead. I don't want someone that's like, I think I know better than you. I'm going to do all of these things, and it's not going to affect me in particular, but I'm just going to dump it all over you just because that's what I feel like doing at the time, and because I can. And, you know, even though I don't know anything about you and haven't even tried to go take a good close look at what's going on with you from my ascended vantage point, well, you have a choice. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, because of not the weight of the crown or the jewels, but because of the responsibility. And it is easier to indulge your impulses, like if you just want to get mad and take it out on people that are not of your loins or of your heart, say, so not your family, and then they could just be expendable like game tokens. But the right use of power is not going to do that, because it's going to understand that the people that you're dealing with are actually not so different from you, and they will want the same things. Like, they will want comfort and a home that they can go to and feel assured that the lights are going to be on, and the things that need to be provided by your leaders, your so-called superiors in governance. You want them to be fair, you want them to be humane, you want them to be compassionate, you want them to be smart enough to understand that people have needs, that they're not just these little small things that you're better than. You know, you understand that for a system to operate properly and well, there has to be interconnections that operate smoothly and with right purpose. So for the betterment of all of the people, I mean, if you're at the top, you're already well off. You don't have to like rub everybody else's nose in it. In fact, you look and are better when you raise up everyone. Like a rising tide raises all boats. So basically I feel like this is saying there's our leaders out there, there's a way to lead. Even like it doesn't have to be a figurehead, it doesn't have to be a monarchy. There are like community leaders and school leaders and family leaders, and you know, there's all kinds of ways where we get together that we can also like help each other and I don't know, raise our circumstances. We can help each other do that. And it's easier for everyone if there's help, and everyone benefits if there's help. You benefit from giving, you benefit from getting, like obviously, but you also, you're not losing anything when you give your time or your energy or your love or your, you know, whatever you're skilled at, like whatever you create. If you share that, that's all good, in my opinion. So the last cards I pulled were from the, oh, there it is. Oh, whoops. Well, where's the rest of it? Whoa, they're from, oh, I see what I did. They're from the angel number deck. And I had left the lid off. Hi. Someone's at the door. And I left the lid off because when I was, don't put those back, you're reading those. When I was shuffling the cards, this one kept showing itself to me. So I'm just going to leave it on the top of the deck there. Okay, so the next card I pulled was... Did I put them out of order? I guess not. 0440, the gut feeling. Which is also known as intuition. So this card has subtitles, and they are intuition, betrayal, pessimisms, relating, value, insight, increased perception, love, monogamy. So those are all of the qualities, or not all of them, but some of the ones that I was talking about. The right use of power, the right-minded ruler would have the intuition to know like what is needed, what their subjects need, their fellow people of whatever their kingdom is or land. Betrayal, pessimisms. Well, that's something you always have to worry about when you're at the head of anything, because there's always envious people, or people that want your power, which could also sprout from envy, but there would be other reasons for that. And so I almost, instead of pessimisms, I would almost say like paranoia, but like a healthy kind of paranoia, because you just always have to be aware of it. Like, everyone doesn't always have your best interests at heart. A lot of times they have their own interests at heart, and sometimes their selfish interests will bisect with other interests, and it depends. It's not always a good thing. So, I mean, it's pessimistic, but it's something you have to have in mind. And I would not say that it's unhealthy to be a little paranoid, to be safe when you're in this position, because not only can the ruler be a danger can come to the ruler, and that could result in not great times for the people, the subjects, so to speak. Relating, again, that almost goes back to intuition, like kind of having a sense of what is needed by the people, what they need, and not in the sense of like individually, like, this is what you're doing right or wrong with your life, so change it this way or that way because I think that's what you should do. That's not what I mean. But generally people need water, so you're going to make sure the waterworks are in proper operation. That's what I mean. Value people, what they can do to help, what they can add, and what is your value back. Like, people, you have a lot of people that look up to you, that expect a lot from you, that give a lot. Like, if I'm going to talk about a monarchy, let's talk about the British royal family. Like, that they survive on what the public, they're basically supported by the public, like pretty much 100%. So as long as the royal family is valued by those people, they will continue to hand over their dough to finance the operation. So they see value in doing that. If you're not in that system and you live outside of it, like myself, you might be saying, wow, that's quite a scam, and they've been able to work that puppy for hundreds of years. But it takes all kinds. People do stuff differently in different places. Insight, well, I mean, you would have to have some of that going on in order to be an efficient leader, because you wouldn't have to be able to sense what's coming or to know what's needed after a series of events take place. Like, you need to be able to extrapolate a future of many things, or be able to mine some value from history in order to not repeat mistakes, increased perception. This is all about, like, you really, we're talking about someone that's got to be empathetic, sympathetic, altruistic, loving even. Like, love is one of the next ones, or it is the next one. Monogamy. Okay, well, to your people, good deal. Royalty in the modern day, like, the only ones that were real cognizant of in America are the Brits. And I'm going to make that generalization because that's really all I hear them talking about. But I know that there's a Swedish royalty. I believe there's a Danish royalty still. Here and there still is. There's Asian country, Indonesia, I think maybe. Like I said, it's not like huge in the news here, and there's not a whole huge reason for this American to care about that. Very much so I don't. Just sort of peripherally aware of it. So there is a paragraph on here, and it reads, follow your gut. It's more than just a feeling. Be real with people and focus on meaningful relationships. I got to agree with that. I feel like otherwise you're kind of wasting your time. Remember, you also must bring value to the table. Treat others with respect or else karma will bite your ass. 3 is a crowd. I guess that's referring to monogamy. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of it. When I can have an opportunity to be in a partnership, I want to be monogamous because I've been in some where monogamy has not been happening, and it wasn't on my end of the relationship. I really believe in being real with people. Like, speaking of monogamy, there was a time when I was going out with someone, and I was kind of in the midst of discovering that it wasn't working for me, and I hadn't really made a decision about stay, go, or anything when someone walked into my life, and it was just a temporary thing. But regardless, I wasn't gonna cheat, so I broke up with the person I was with. And the reason why I'm laughing is because it wasn't like the person that I ended up doing that about or over was permanent at all. Like, it was just a one-time thing. But I didn't want to cheat, and I hadn't yet gotten to the point where I was like, this ain't working for me and I need to get out, but consciously, I guess. But soon after that, it was like, this, that, and this and that is why it doesn't work. And I know that sounds like I just made up a bunch of excuses after I was like, I want to do this, I'm going to just bail on that. But when I look at my own treatment in the past, I know that I would rather have been told, like, it ain't working, it's over, than to find out that, like, oh yeah, your person was, like, sucking face with somebody else, blah, blah, blah. And then you see the person and they're like, hi, kissy kiss. And you're like, eat hot coals, dick. Like, I don't like being shitted on, so those are my views on monogamy. Like, if you're gonna do it 100%. But if you don't want to, like, be with one person, then, I mean, then don't be with them. If it's just temporary, then do it the one time and go away. Don't give people the wrong idea and keep hanging around, because I'm remembering a situation where they're like, I told you it was going to be this way. And it's like, yeah, but you kept hanging around, so mixed messages. Anyway. Moving on to the next card, which is a 1144. High Vibes is the subtitle. And the paragraph reads, love or other happiness lurks just around the corner. It will be something much better than in your wildest dreams. A rare opportunity, an exciting encounter with like-minded people will exceed your expectations. So, okay, here's what I have to say about that. I have a situation today that happens fairly frequently, like every week basically, and that is lawnmower day. So, this has to do with the recent thing where my kitty, somebody had had him tied up. And so I have been a little worried about letting him back outside, just with the hope that, my goodness, I hope you understand now what I tell you for years: stay away from people. I hope that experience makes him want to stay away from people, like whoever did that to him. But now, every time I let him out, that's on my mind. Are those people gonna leave him alone now, And then I try not to think past that, because I don't want to fill out that particular, it's not a reverie, it's a bit of a nightmare, and I don't want to upholster it with details. So, and I don't even want this. I was just about to say, but now when I let him out, I'm consciously thinking about that, or constantly thinking about that. And it's not like it wasn't something that I was unaware of previously. I know it's always a risk when you let your little pet out and they're out of sight and you can't see who they're dealing with when you can't see them, so you don't know. It's just like having a child or any person you care about. When you let them out of your sight, you try not to think about all of the bad things that could happen, but there's bad things that could happen. So that's kind of where I've been. And lawnmower day, if I don't get him in here before they start making noise, then he's gone for hours. I know the sound hurts his ears, hurts all the animals' ears, but he just doesn't like it, and he won't come back for hours after they've gone. And then there's also, it's compounded by the fact that it's summertime, and so it's warm out. And I will get to you in a minute. And he will stay out until dark. And so I'm like, yeah, but you haven't eaten. But he did eat dry food. I don't know. It's I feel like his mother. I'm worried about it. But I am trying to keep a high vibe about it, because like I said, I don't want to build the wrong message. And then also, and this is maybe the hardest thing about it, is whatever happens, and then I have to accept it and deal with it. So that's what I'm trying to keep foremost in my mind, so I'm not dwelling on what ifs, And you kind of have to do that just with life in general, whether you have a pet or a person that leaves the house that you feel love for, and you don't want anything to happen to you. You can't be dwelling on that stuff. So you want to keep a high vibe. And then also, especially when I have a worry about this, I wish I remember it first, but I don't. Just surrender. There's no point in getting all whipped up in worry and thinking things you don't want to be thinking. And you can alleviate that anxiety by just I'm gonna let God handle it. I'm just gonna let go of it. So that's what I personally am getting out of this. I'll read the paragraph. Love and other happiness lurks just around the corner. It will be something that already read this. So what that speaks to, aside from my own personal stuff, is it sounds like someone had been waiting for love or other happiness, and had disappointments, like I talked about with like the cheating people. That was disappointing because I wasn't cheating. I wasn't having that expectation. Um, but when you want something and then you have the experience that didn't come out the way you wanted it, that is just. And I thought it at the time, like I'm going through frogs, like, or frog experiences. Like you just gotta have the thing that you don't really want a bunch of times until eventually something like what you want or better than what you want will come along. And that is, I mean, it's not divine intervention like a strike of lightning because you asked for it, but it takes sometimes a while for your order to go through because your prayer, your wish, you are not the only one doing that. At the same time, what was the figure I heard last night for the whole world of the population? 30 billion people. Seems like there should be more, but that's irrelevant. That's still a lot of people. So whoever's doing the processing, from what I understand on the other side, there are legions of angels and beings and such. But they have a lot that they're already doing too, aside from granting wishes and prayers. But that's one reason it might take a while for your wish to come true. But also, doing something like worrying about like a what if, that's not like a uplifting kind of a thought, that's gonna like interfere with your wish getting to you. Like it's gonna create a resistance, and until you work that out, it's gonna be in limbo. Like you gotta maintain high vibes. It's good for your health. It's good for everyone around you. It's good for your situation. It's just generally good. So okay, I guess I will read the keywords. So divine intervention, which is why I kept mentioning it. Prosperity is another. Well, that comes when you are open to receive. Like you must also be receptive, on top of not being deflective. Fated events, that's kind of your whole life. But if you say the prayer and the prayer gets set in motion, then that's a fated event on its way to you. Faith, well, that goes with the praying. Purpose, that kind of goes with the faith, because it's almost like you kind of don't get one without the other. But when you get them both together, here's the last keyword, you have a higher calling. That is my feeling. So the final card is 5555, clarity. That is a lot of fives, and generally a 5 is going to mean change in your numerology and your tarot. Great transformation. So multiple 5s is like compounded. Repeating numbers generally mean that, like a condensation of the message of it. Major changes. Yeah, that 555 almost making me think of the LA series of earthquakes, like boom, 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 like one after the other. They were having them 5s and 4s, which is not. I mean, I've been through a couple of 7s, so I can say that's 7 plus even. 4s and 5s, not earth shaking, but they are. There were no casualties. I don't think there were injuries except to property, which is, property can be fixed, can be replaced, it can be built. It's not a priority in my opinion, but so to some people it is. Opportunity. Well, when everything breaks down, that is like it's broken ground for new growth. And that can be in the form of flora, and it can be in the form of some business dream or whatever that you might have. A lot of things have to happen for one thing to come into play or to work out, like the thing that you want. A lot of other stuff has to happen that you wouldn't even be aware of necessarily for your thing to happen, like for your wish to come true, your prayer to become a reality. Fast pace forward. Well, that's when all the ducks are in a row and things can just happen. Next word is process. So I don't know if it's the process of all of the things falling into order, falling into place, so your order can go through, or if it just refers to it's a process. Like all of the stuff going on has to happen for the one thing to happen because it's a part of a process. As the paragraph reads, you aren't a victim of circumstance. Rather, you are the beneficiary of it. If that weren't the case, life would be pretty dull. You will set yourself up for success in the long run if you're willing to adapt to this shift. So I'm going to stop right here and interrupt to say, like, let's say you have a store in Los Angeles or California where the earthquakes were, somewhere in that area, and your business got just messed up and you basically have to start all over. So you may feel some shock and some grief, loss over like what you had that you may have liked really well getting destroyed, but you will also know that things can be replaced, things can be rebuilt, and things may have to change, and they may not immediately be to your liking, but you may come to find later that once things work out and resettle, it's even better than what you had envisioned in the first place, better than what you had going before. So just like after a fire, it looks bad and you think the destruction is horrible, but give it a few months and you got, fields bursting with wildflowers and new growth, where months ago you could see nothing but destruction, because it's a process. Oh wait, it's discard. Last keyword, process. And it holds true with like the prayer thing and the witch thing, all the same thing. It's like once you set something in motion, things have to happen. Other things have to fall into place for the one thing you have in mind to do what you needed to do, to get where it has to go, to bring you what you need. It's a process. And finally, at long last, got ahead of myself. Everything is working out for the best. At long last, you are accomplishing what you set out to do. Everything will work out perfectly in the end. I think I just said that. So, when I'm in that place, like before I decided to sit down and do the cards, like when I'm in that place where I was like, oh, hold on, something's coming, but I'm not sure I'm ready to do this. I just have like impressions and like phrases would come forward in various ways. And it's weird. It's like when I first started getting into this, like I've always been into the Arcturians, and one thing they were saying a lot at the time was that they will reach you any way they can. So my thing at the time is that I was seeing a lot of people talking about license plates and billboards, and one person had an accounting job, and so all this numerology was coming up, and they were just like just stuff was coming out of every orifice with this stuff with people. And I was just like, well, that's not my experience, because I don't really go out enough to pay attention to license plates. Like usually if I'm out in a car, I'm just overstimulated and talking away to the person I'm driving with, because I live alone and my regular companion is a cat, so he doesn't answer. He's not much of a conversationalist. So I'm not license plates and numbers on signs are not my priority. Like, I already know where I'm going, and anyway. Well, I don't know why I started. So yeah, right. So I wasn't seeing all these messages come in the way I was just saying the other people were, like noticing stuff out and about, or like seeing stuff in their accounting job. Like, that was not happening to me. But the Arcturians were like, we'll still find a way to get the message to you. Like, you have a clock, you have the phone or the television that you're looking at the stuff on, or you're reading a book. Like, now I know that whatever the situation for you is personally, you're gonna get your messages. Like, however they're gonna come, you're gonna get them. So before I was gonna do this, I was feeling like, I've talked about feeling blank, and it wasn't that exactly, but it was similar. It was close to it, because I was in a place of, like, I don't want to say limbo, but just sort of incomplete. Like, I had a sense of some things, but I knew I didn't have all of it, so I was just kind of waiting. And yeah, I mean, that's all I could do. Like, I could have just gone ahead and started doing stuff anyway, but I don't think I would have been talking about the right thing, so I waited. But it's also a disconcerting feeling. And a message I got was, when I first started pulling these, I opened up the box. I think I pulled these first. I opened up the box and it was like 3. I heard 3. Okay, 3. I'll take 3 cards. And then I pulled the next box, which was the Light Seers box. And it was like 3. I heard 3 again. I was like, okay, 3 cards. And then this one wasn't less sure. It was like 3 and I think it was saying 3 and not 3 and. Because the and was this card with the intuition that came up a couple of times, or at least once in these cards. But just throughout the read, intuition was kind of like a recurring theme, like a repeating number almost. So 3 cards, 333 is associated with spirit. 33 is associated with, well, the time of Jesus' death, but also just associated with Jesus for some reason, which is kind of morbid. But so I got 3 sets of 3. So 3 is a number associated with the Creator, with spirit. Another 3 makes 6. That is it's a corresponding in a series, and so a third set of 3 is 9. And so I noticed, of course, while I was listening to my sort of woo-woo music, just I had 963 on, which is the God frequency. So I'm still not exactly sure what that is supposed to mean, but I feel like since I made those associations, it was supposed to mean something, and I'm not going to worry about like getting the message now that I can just share with you, because maybe I'm not meant to. Maybe that's why I don't have it now. But I did want to share with you the 369, and that's an example of what I was saying, of like the way that I'm getting signs and messages comes in maybe differently from someone else, but I have like a lot going on that is informative, that informs me for like doing this, but just in life in general. And then also I have various little crystals and things that I like to keep near me when I'm doing this, or in the area generally. So I got this from a good friend, and I believe it's selenite, and if you look at it, it kind of, well, it looks like a number of things, I guess you could say. But it actually came like this. I think I had asked, I was saying I wanted a geode, and she brought me this, but I think this is in particular selenite. And I think of it as like a filtering sort of like a cleanser. And then also from the same person I got this, what the heck do you call this? I knew the name of it when I started. Fluorite. This one also is supposed to act as sort of a cleanser, I believe, an energy cleanser. And this stone is squirted out of my hand. Come back. I got it from the same person. I didn't even think about that. Will you stop that? Come back. I don't know the name of this one, but I'm just gonna let you look at it. It's like milky, it's translucent. It's kind of well, on this side of the camera, it's a grayish blue. It's very polished. I assume that whoever she got it from put it in a tumbler, but it could have just been naturally polished. It's very shiny. It does have a rough spot. And that's like the only place I can grip it where it doesn't want to just squirt out of my hand. So I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I just know that it just makes me feel good. Like the smoothness of it, like the feel of it is comforting. Like I just like to hold it in my hand and turn it and rub my fingertips on it. And it's kind of warm just on its own. It's just a very welcoming kind of a stone, and now you know that. So I started to write notes. I sure tried, but nothing came, so I guess I didn't talk about what I was thinking I was going to talk about at all. That's okay. I'm done talking though, so thank you and good night.